Hello, my name is Creostix and welcome back to Stasis. And we found ourselves in this engineering-ish place with a terminal or something that we can probably now go and read up on for one. March 1, test message attempting to fix the pod terminal. I think I got it working, sort of. Backspace don't work. Still can't do much but make entries. March 14th, on. Open. How do I get access to the other functions? April 5th, system notification failed to complete transmission. Path. Fuck you, you ain't got a damn radio is invalid or recipient is currently offline. May 12th, database incomplete. June 20th, update. Terminal now recognizes the pod. Pod door hydraulics can be accessed but not opened. August 22nd, pod is ready to roll. Terminal works well enough but cannot erase test posts. Cool beans. Let's see here. So, let's open pod. Yay! Have a nice soothing CO. Okay. Very good. Okay, I'm going apparently by my notes here. I'm supposed to... Why did that happen? Like a weird, like a jump in the audio. Anyway, I'm supposed to go to the disposal area. And a lovely transition screen to do exactly that, yes.
These creatures are following their base instincts. Breeding, eating.
Right. Good of you to mention that, question mark. Okay then. So I'm supposed to go to a where do I go from here? Oh.
The tower. Maintenance and repair and solid waste disposal facility is overdue by 9,125 days.
Good for you. Okay, now.
Never seen anything as disgusting as this place.
Oh, come now. It's fine. Oh boy. Okay, so there's a plasma cutter on the...
Looks like it was sealed in during construction.
Right. There we go. And there's a loader distribution box as well, to which we can apparently... There we go. We got a power cell from it. Yay! Good. Great. So go. Let's leave. Question mark. Also, before I go, just go back. That's a face. An effigy has been sculpted from a slab of mucus. Its role is unknown. That's a face. Are they making the face of Dr. Milan or something? That's just, boy, don't want to know. Luckily, the maintenance pod works enough to reach this place, but jeez, nasty. Okay, good, great. Next up, janitorial office. Oh boy. We good? Thank you. Okay then. You see this refrigerator over here? Apparently I'm supposed to use the plasma cutter on it, because reasons. Yes. Hello. We have a body and a PDA. That means it's reading time. Let's see. Scott Tanaka. Okay then, let's see. February 6th. Jared would make for a useful business partner, but I can't even suggest it without him erupting into a fit of rage and beginning to rant that ain't how it's done in my family. Does the man honestly expect to get anywhere without once taking help from those more intelligent than he is? February 11th. The Groom Lake has been a pleasure to be aboard thus far, much more entertaining than being on Earth. Even in my family's private island isn't this entertaining. Granted, there isn't much left to do now that all the indigenous animals have been hunted and killed. Space, however, is infinite. March 20th. I feel as though planning an April Fool's joke almost 2 weeks in advance is a little pathetic, especially when the plan consists of a single prank, pouring water on Jared. April 2nd. I poured water on him, just a little glass, and the consequence? The hulking dimwit chased me down the corridor with a wrench, slicing a reasonable portion of my forehead open. I'm now thoroughly convinced that he is deranged and will be doing some investigation. May 14th. After agreeing to transfer a sum of money, I convinced Dr. Graham to obtain Jared's medical records for me. Jared really is mentally ill. He suffers from outbursts of rage. According to one report, he murdered his brother by crushing him to death with a car. It goes on to note that Jared believes it to be the will of the Lord. Capitalized, just like that. How in the hell did he manage to get a position in the most important area of this ship? I'll have to stay on his good side. June 4th. I'm beginning to miss my father's mansion more with each passing day. Having maids and chefs to cater to me is how I was raised. To be responsible for cleaning up after myself and walking all the way to the mess hall for food remains a challenge. Poor you. August 23rd. Sometimes I question my own sanity. I briefly criticized Jared's hobby for repairing that old transport pod, and oh, the daggered stare he gave me in return. What did I think I could possibly accomplish by talking to him about it? August 27th. Unbelievable. He burned my thesaurus. Jared marched towards me, ripped it from my hands, and set it on fire. Then he screamed, "April Fools!" and sprinted away, waving the burning pages above his head. September 19th. I can't begin to say how many times I've retyped my entries. They feel not as good. There's a better word, I swear it. I would kill to get my thesaurus back. How can anyone respect me if I don't sound smart? September 28th. I give up. I ran into Dr. Graham today and he remarked that I sounded like less of a pretentious asshole. Guess I should just talk like an ordinary person from now on. Oh hey, ordinary is a pretty big word. October 30th. My arms hurt. It was hard work to get all of that fungus out of the generators. We did it though. Cleaning is not easy. I feel a sense of accomplishment. November 13th. I guess Jared isn't all bad. He apologized to me today for losing his temper so often. And you know what? I apologized in return. I don't remember the last time I did that. November 15th. Holy shit, it turns out the guy had a bunch of rations tucked away. He shared them with me even though he's almost out. If I don't starve to death here, I may have to put him in charge of Tanaka Investments charity, which doesn't exist yet. November 22nd. Rations are here. We have just enough food in the freezer to last us. We're far less hungry than the guys manning the Twins. I have to say I'm impressed. Not sure how those guys have had the energy to keep us afloat with so little to eat. Those guys are titans. December 23rd. Engineering is now on total lockdown. We have to keep whatever those things are away from the generators. I don't think that we'll ever see the light of day again. At least when I die, it'll be with the only real friend I ever had. Well then, there we are. And also, whenever you see a frozen body, you just see one falling into your feet. We've already learned that if a warm body falls from the ceiling, you just grab the intestines and put them in the pocket. However, if the body is frozen, you stomp its head and pick up its eye. Because it's important to gain new perspectives in life. Then you see. Yes, sure. Let's just super go. Again, I'm at a loss for words with this game. It's boy. Okay. So, let's roll to the visitor expansion area. Oh boy. Here we are then. Okay, now our next step would be to find a loose panel on the power loader here, or the whatever, and that's a retinal scanner. So we luckily just by coincidence we picked up an eye with which we can do that. Then we use the power cell on the panel. Good. Yes. And let's interact with the loader. If you could, Yay! Awesome, great, good. Which, that is... also, when you're on a spaceship, it's very safe to just drive through the walls with a power loader. What could go wrong in a vacuum, really? I mean, it's
The Groom Lake Visitor Center. K Corporation trusts that you'll enjoy your stay.
Oh,
Ensure your personal data tag is updated with your medical history and is functioning correctly.
Right. Perfect. Now we have a bunch of information kiosks or whatever, and as we've already learned, our reading is important, so...
Kane Mining Limited was founded in 2050. Henry Kane was appointed to exercise control over East Asian Pacific debt repayment through mining asset acquisition.
There we are.
Launched in 2100, the tower was 6,106 feet long. This massive nuclear fusion powered ship was used extensively as a planetary mining platform. 15 years of atmospheric exposure resulted in a weakened hull and her decommissioning.
Luckily we have the subtitles because, again, the dialogue, everything is really low in this game compared to the other stuff, so can't do anything about that.
This poster depicts a 95-year-old Henry Kane in the prime of his life.
Okay.
In 2116, Kane Corporation recruited a vessel from its mining fleet to be repurposed as a laboratory.
If you say so.
Did you know? Kane Mining Limited was rebranded as Kane Corporation in June 2019.
Okay. And then the other kiosk over here, which tells me...
Henry Kane was born to an impoverished family in January the 26th, 2000. His mother Clara was a store clerk and his father Edwin was a veterinarian.
Well, that's...
Henry Kane was born to an
good thing.
impoverished
Okay,
family
now...
in January the 26th, 2000.
that should be everything that we have here. So... we can now go forward, I believe. Oh boy, okay.
The tower was rechristened the Groom Lake in 2120 when she left dry dock and began her journey towards the outer planets.
Okay then, and indeed, since we have learned, you know, all the stuff that we can so far, might as well just go all in.
Charles Clark Kane has proudly taken over the reins from his father and continues his family's legacy.
Okay.
A replica of a statue of remembrance that stands in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
In 2077, a mile below the surface, Camp 571 in Japan produced a treasure trove of medical research documentation.
Medical research documentation, okay.
Henry Kane served in the military and was a decorated naval aviator.
Now I know apparently that he's an aviator, or was, over there.
The rapid advancement of medical research and its auxiliary studies culminated in the perfection of genetic manipulation. Popularized by the media as a medical Cold War, the eugenics age far exceeded selective breeding. In 2049, a worldwide ban was placed on unapproved genetic modification.
Okay, that should be all of the audio logs, and indeed, it's good that there are subtitles, because even I have sometimes issues hearing all the stuff that the game is telling, so... Okay then, now, with that, I believe... now we can just move forward, I think. So, we have a lifeboat station with a bunch of destroyed lifeboats, so apparently there's nothing we can really do with these. You know, the death trap lies silently in its bay, and all that stuff, so there we are then. And we can probably just keep on going then, because there's I don't think there's anything to interact with in here. And I think the same could be the ruptured fuel pipes dribble flammable and toxic fluid, rendering this lifeboat unsafe and definitely unusable, if you say so. So there we go. And oh, okay, a kind of a cathedral-looking place.
Man, alone in the world, trembles with the cold.
Okay, you just wanted to say that little line there. Oh boy. Right. So this is a pretty interesting visual moment, I will give you that, but oh boy. Well, there's a gilded airlock in there, and we can probably go in there and then just see what happens. But it looks like a cathedral with all these weird windows. It's kind of a well, interesting is the opportune word. But, oh well. Let's just... Oh, hi!
Murderer!
You really are a roach, Mr. Maracek.
John, shoot him. Kill him now.
I may have pulled the trigger, so to speak, but you and Miss Hensley loaded the gun.
Don't try to worm your way out of this, you goddamn monster.
Monster? By whose standards do you call me a monster? The morals of men don't apply to gods.
Okay, and plasma cutter to the machine parts.
Security lockdown initiated.
Quantum storage device damaged and door missing. Fracture of femur detected. Scapula damaged. Seek immediate medical attention.
Alan, did you... Have we got her?
I do. She's here.
It's over. It's all over. It's over. It's all over. It's over. It's all over.
I'm sorry, it wasn't supposed to end like this. Waking you was a mistake, John. But I'm happy to have met you.
I don't understand. Tyr, what do you mean? You woke me?
No.
Answer me!
We needed a way to transport the research off the Groom Lake. And your wife's bone marrow was a perfect storage device.
Research? This is about fucking research?
Yes! It's about research. Worth billions, John. Billions.
So you caused all of this? You let those things loose?
No, I'm not that sloppy. The idiots we sent to get your wife's body turned off all the containment protocols. We lost Ellen in all the chaos. That pussy Yuri was on his way to you when Milan got involved.
On his way to get my DNA.
It was the only way to locate the data carrier in this shitfest. Old man Kane will be rolling in his grave when I sell his secrets.
You're just like Milan.
Is that what you think? John, do you love your wife? Well, I loved my husband, and Kane Security Forces murdered him during a protest. Kane Corporation took everything from me, and now I will burn them to the ground.
You don't have to do this. You don't.
Two stasis pods, hon. It was never gonna happen.
Celestigraphic coordinates confirmed. Autopilot has been engaged. Time to departure.
Well then,
15 minutes.
he did indeed,
You never had any intention of helping me. You used me. You used my family.
It's not personal.
Not personal. You bitch.
Guilty.
So we need to John personal data tag to Tia.
Yeah. Fuck you.
There we are then. And apparently the tag didn't activate until I threw it because reasons.
This vessel has been cleared for departure.
Do I departure? Ellen Marachek. Hello, dearie. We had an adventure. I would like to tell you all about it, yes. Also, how can I walk? Just asking. I was...
I love you, Ellen.
Good for you. Did I do a good or a bad? Because, I mean... Right. So I sent her status pod anyway to somewhere. Because reasons. Also, I mean, Thea was being really, really rude and needlessly bitchy at the end there, but beyond that, do I really care if she sells some secrets or whatever and whatever? I mean, I don't think she kidnapped me or my wife to begin with, so there's that. Yeah, she would now then have used my wife to be a mule for her research selling stuff. Yes, true. That's bad, obviously, but she's not the reason why we ended up here in the first place, I think. So, you know... Oh, so the wife was dead as well, then, in the stasis pod. Well, that's good. So it was all in vain, and then I probably died in the spaceship afterwards. Yep. Okay, then. So that was an experience. Ha. Whoa. Okay, okay. And again, if anyone who's been one of the voice artists and such of the game, I could obviously not do better. I'm just trying to like say that the writing of the dialogue sort of didn't quite fit the mood of many of the situations. Oh, that was a really short set of not a lot of people involved then. That's actually impressive. Not many people, you know, in the credits means this was made with hard work. Whoa. Whoa. That like brings my respect up a lot, because making a game like with a team that small, that's not an easy task, you know. Boy, okay, man, but we did it. Okay, well, so reading all of the lore stuff did help in that, as far as I understood, at some point, Ellen was also the mother of one of the hybrid children. And I don't know when she would then have died, but anyway, but question is, did Thea know that Ellen was already dead in the pod? No, I'm not sure if she did. She really could have, assuming as long as the marrow functions in stasis, in that it can store the quote-unquote research, then I suppose that's whatever for her. But so here's the thing. I don't fully understand why Tia had to be so, you know, hostile at the end there. Because, just bear with me here. She's not, as far as I understand, her sin was indeed to try to sell off research within the body of Ellen, right? I know. But she also said it was a mistake to thaw you, but I'm glad we met. Also, I'm the reason she's alive, otherwise Dr. Milan would have killed her. But it's like, why the hostile turn? You bitch, guilty? Like, why? What's the reasoning for her being so assholey all of a sudden? Because assuming if the wife would have been alive, then if I would have been in John's shoes, I couldn't have changed the fact at that point anymore of her body having the research in it, right? So, assuming if said research could be quote-unquote transported without killing the wife, then we would still have gotten out, all three of us, you know? I'm assuming that Thea had a way to escape the spaceship because she wanted to make billions, yes? And destroy... Also, that's really weird, how her motivation seems to be... She started off the sentence by saying it's research worth billions, and in the next sentence she says, I want to destroy Kane because personal reasons, because they killed my husband in a demonstration. So which one is it? I mean, sure, it could be both, but that's kind of... She didn't come across as a person who has personal motives because she was such an asshole about it, to me, you know? She wasn't trying to convince that she's doing the right thing at all. She was like, yes, I'm guilty of being a bitch. Like, what? Like, that just doesn't fit. Also, yeah, so assuming that she has a way out of the ship, because she wants to make the monies, then couldn't I come along on that ship with Ellen, and we all go, and assuming, again, that Ellen wouldn't have been having it to die to the research, then hunky-dory, yes? Although, yes, Ellen was dead at this point, true, but, do we know, did Thea cause Ellen to die? I don't know. If she did, then we have a problem. If she didn't, what can we do? We're victims of circumstance, and then we might as well just escape with Thea and the late good wife there, and just get out of the hellish nightmare at least. I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness in that. It doesn't quite fit together in my brain. The character motivation is splintered in weird ways to me there. It's like, huh? Strange. Okay. But beyond that, like, more thoughts on what I thought of the game as a whole. So it's a flawed game, that's for damn sure, but it's not all bad, not even close. The good stuff is especially the visuals, as I've mentioned multiple times before. The visual, like the handcraftiness of all the scenes, is very striking. It looks very... It's impressive. That's what I mean. Gameplay-wise, it's a bit janky in that it doesn't need to have the sections where you just are so slow to move that it takes forever to do things. You oftentimes need to click to a hotspot twice to actually make John do the thing you're asking him to do. That's kind of and I'm sort of two minds of the death fail states, because on one hand, I'm not usually a huge fan of death fail states in horror games, but in here, I don't think they're going for immersion per se. Also, they had the good idea to attach achievement to different deaths, which makes them sort of, in a weird way, kind of a fun fail statey thing, if you will. So it's sort of you're seeing a story unfold, but I don't think the game is trying to immerse you in being in the story, if you will. So in that sense, the death scenes are pretty much fine there. Then they could use a bit better checkpointing with those, maybe, but still. The writing is a thing that kind of does a few different flaws to me as well, in that Milan's voice acting especially was just weird. It's this really thick Eastern European-ish accent that's just so over the top in its delivery that it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Really, it's so like, huh? And oftentimes the dialogue itself just sort of isn't quite where it needs to be, you know? which sort of breaks away from the story. The writing of the PDA logs, I mentioned that there's, the few typos and such which bother me a little, but that's not really the issue. That's a part of an issue, but the main issue is I'm not sure it's I'm not sure those logs are the best possible way to convey the context and also most of the story, really. Because having those logs on its face is good. The issue is they're way, way too long. They're so long that the actual message in them gets just kind of lost, because there's so much fluff that doesn't really need to be there. And then when the game can be much longer than this, even if you get stuck on all the puzzles, if you don't use a walkthrough, you're not going to remember any of the PDA stuff because there's so much text, and then you're stuck on puzzles for an hour or 2 hours or 4 days, and then you don't remember the story anymore. So you're in a weird state where you read like 10 pages of text of blah, and then you're stuck on 3, 4, 5 puzzles for until next autumn. Well, 1 year and then autumn. And then you read more just with 10 pages of blah, and you don't get the opportunity to really get a chance to piece together what actually went down, unless you really, really love reading books a whole bunch, because you read so much in this, and it's not concise enough. In most games of the log entry method of storytelling, they are in the end kind of short, where you get the idea of what that conveys. Here you just text, endless pages of text, and you just, okay, what was the point? There was a lockdown and they died. Like, okay, sure. Fungus, and hybrid monster. Yeah, it just blends together into a blur of so much text. It's a lot like in, and also just, if you're already using dialogue in your game, convey important story bits maybe through that somehow, rather than just the endless PDA text. The PDAs are good on its face, but they're way, 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 way too long. Way too long. It's it's like not even close to okay. It's so long. Also, one more flaw in my opinion is, well, okay, if I remember correctly, it's a Kickstarter game, in that it probably had the selling point of being an old school point and click adventure game and a horror game. It did do that. It absolutely did. So they have then done what they promised. However, I have a flaw issue in what an old school adventure game actually kind of is. If you love that sort of a thing, that's fine. That's cool. But my question is, why were the old school adventure games so impossibly difficult to beat? In that you have to have a walkthrough, pretty much. Again, I'm dumb, and I can accept that I can't work out these puzzles, especially in a space setting where there is no quote-unquote normal logic to sort of start from in the same way, if you will. We're not on Earth in the year 2018. We're in Neptune in 2150 whatever, or something where you don't know what to begin with in your logical thinking of what do I do. And also there's just, pixel hunting, which is just cheap and that. But anyway, why were the old school adventure games so hard? Because if one could just flow through them without getting stuck, they were at the lengths of 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe 6 at most, or such. And that's why they wanted to. The designers back then wanted to add more length to the game by making them so hard with their puzzles of space logic, so that they wouldn't get complaints of the game being too short for the money. Nowadays, that's no longer the issue. You can have a 2-hour long game that costs 10 or something or 15 if the game is solid in what it's doing, what the story is, what all that is. That's good enough then. You don't need the old school. So what I'm saying is the old school super impossible adventure game formula is outdated today in that it's not really enjoyable to go through because you don't get a pacing of the story anymore because you're always just stuck. It's especially weird in a horror game where you're supposed to just piece together a story and be, at least not maybe fully immersed in projecting yourself to the story, but at least into experiencing the story, right? And now just, stuck all the time. And those, at least for me, I would have never, ever gotten like half of those puzzles in a billion years. So yeah. I hope that's all that I could think of here, but indeed, those are flaws, but it was still an interesting thing to go through. So it's a different enough game for what I usually play that it was that I'm happy that I went through it, and I was interested to know like what's the twist, what's the ending, what's the story in on itself. The story did maybe fall a little flat for me in the end because of how the character motivations and such just kind of splintered into weird directions that doesn't make a complete picture for me, but still it was a curious game to play. It was flawed but not all bad. It was interesting, and I'm glad that I stuck with it to see it to the end. But with that though, I'm all done with this game, and indeed I do hope you have enjoyed this. And let me know what you thought of the game if you think of something different. And if you really like feel it's a modern classic and excellent, that's awesome. Everyone needs things they like and love and everything. That's cool and great, and disagreement is fine. That's awesome. But indeed, I do hope you've enjoyed my playthrough of Stasis, and if you have, please do drop a like or a comment, or even subscribe or share if you want to. It would really, really help. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time in the next game.